Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivanodari. Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivanodari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivanodari. Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivanodari. Sodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Jasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivanodari. Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivanodari. Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Prayajakacharya Asatyosa Shishimat. His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki. Ananta Gaura Vaishnava Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Prem Sikaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Shivandavanam Ki Jai, Shri Maya Panavdam Ki Jai, Gangamaya Ki Jai, Jamunamaya Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Sombera Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Shastana Bhakti Distribution Ki Jai, Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Gau Premanandi, all glorious some devotees, all glorious some devotees, all glorious some devotees, all glorious Shishi Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this morning we're reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 10, The Battle Between the Demigods and Vritrasura, text number 9. Etavan avyayo dharmaha punya slokar upasitaha yo bhuta shoka harsabhyam atma Shochati, Shrishati, Etavan avyayo dharmaha, Punya slokar upashitaha, Yo bhuta shokahars habhyam, Atma Shochati Shrishati, Etavan avyayo dharma, Punya slokar upashitaha Yo bhuta shokahar sabhyam Adma sochati hrishyati Etavan avyayo dharma Punya slokar upashitaha Yo bhuta shokahar sabhyam Atma sochati hrishyati. Etavan avyayo dharma. Punya sloka upasitaha. Yo bhut shoka harsabhyam. Atma sochati hrishyati. Etavan avyayo dharma. Yo bhuta shoka harsabhyam. Atma sochati hrishyati. Etavan avyayo dharma. Punya sloka upasitaha. Yo bhuta shoka harsabhyam. Atma sochati hrishyati. Etavan avyayo dharma. Etavan avyayo dharma. Punya sloka upasitaha. Yo bhuta shoka harsabhyam. Atma sochati hrishyati. Etavan. Go ahead, Mataji. Go ahead.
Etavan avyayo dharmaha.
Etavan avyayo dharma.
Punya shloka upasitaha.
Punya sloka upasitaha.
Yo bhuta shoka harsabhyam.
Yo bhuta shoka harsabhyam.
Atma sochati rushyati.
Atma sochati hrishyati.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Etavan, this much. Avyaya, imperishable. Dharma, religious principle. Punya slokar, by famous persons who are celebrated as pious. Upashitaha, recognized. Ya, which? Bhuta, of the living beings. Shoka, by the distress. Harsabhyam, and by the happiness. Atma, the mind. Sochati, laments. Hrishyati, feels happiness. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki. If one is unhappy to see the distress of other living beings and happy to see their happiness, his religious principles are appreciated as imperishable by exalted persons who are considered pious and benevolent. Imperishable. Purport. One generally follows different types of religious principles or performs various occupational duties according to the body given to him and by the modes of material nature. In this verse, however, real religious principles are explained. Everyone should be unhappy to see others in distress and happy to see others happy. Atmavat sarvabhutesu. One should feel the happiness and distress of others as his own. It is on this basis that the Buddhist religious principle of nonviolence, ahimsa parama dharma, is established. We feel pain when someone disturbs us, and therefore we should not inflict pain upon other living beings. Lord Buddha's mission was to stop unnecessary animal killing, and therefore he preached that the greatest religious principle is non-violence. One cannot continue killing animals and at the same time be a religious man. That is the greatest hypocrisy. Jesus Christ said, "Do not kill." But hypocrites nevertheless maintain thousands of slaughterhouses while posing as Christians. Such hypocrisy is condemned in this verse. One should be happy to see others happy, and one should be unhappy to see others unhappy. This is the principle to be followed. Unfortunately, at the present moment, so-called philanthropists and humanitarians advocate the happiness of humanity at the cost of the lives of poor animals. That is not recommended herein. This verse clearly says that one should be compassionate to all living entities, regardless of whether human, animal, tree, or plant. All living entities are sons of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Yunisu Kaunteya Murteya Sambhavantiya Tasam Brahma Mahadnyonir Aham Bija Pradapita. It should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I am the seed-giving Father. The different forms of these living entities are only their external dresses. Every living being is actually a spirit soul, a part and parcel of God. Therefore, one should not favor only one kind of living being. Just like they favor the dogs, man's best friend, but the cows, the chickens, the fish, they kill them. Not good. Regardless of whether human, animal, tree, or plant, all living entities, oh, we did that, right? Therefore, one should not favor only one kind of living being. A Vaishnava sees all living entities as part and parcel of God, as it's said in the Bhagavad Gita. Vidya vinaya sampane brahmane govihastini sunichayvas bhagacha pandita samatarsana. The humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahman, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog-eater, outcast. Brahma bhuta prasanatma nasachati nikangsati samarsavesu bhutesu mad bhaktim labate param. One who is transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments nor desires to have anything. He is equally disposed to every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service to me. A Vaishnava, therefore, is truly a perfect person because he laments to see others unhappy and feels joy at seeing others happy. A Vaishnava is Para-duhkha-duhkhi. He is always unhappy to see the conditioned souls in an unhappy state of materialism. Therefore, a Vaishnava is always busy preaching Krishna consciousness throughout the world. Krishna. Om Jnana Tamanandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshur Militam Jina Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Mukam Krotavachalang Pangam Nang Hayate Garim Yat Kripa Taraham Bande Shikarum Dina Taranam Vanchakalpatribhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavnevyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. We have many examples of devotees in the line of Vaishnavism that had this mood of being unhappy upon seeing the unhappiness of others, such as Prahlad Maharaj. Yeah. He says, Nayavod Vijay Paratarat Jayavaitranyas Twadvirya Gaina Mahamrita Magna Chitta So Chetato Imukchetas Indriyartha Maya Sakayam Bodhamud Voito Vimudhan. Prahlad Maharaj, he says to the Lord Nrsimhadev, I have no problem no anxiety. Because wherever I go, I'm chanting your glories. I'm hearing your glories, I'm chanting your glories. But, however, I am concerned about so many unfortunate souls who are absorbed in Maya Sukhaya, illusory happiness and suffering. This gives him pain. So he's happy, but he's unhappy at the same time. He's happy because he's so Krishna conscious, but he's unhappy to see the unhappiness of others. So, of course, we recently had the presence of Srila Prabhupada, who also had this compassion. There's one time he was with a devotee in a car. They were going to go on a japa walk, and they stopped at one street light, and the Prabhupada looked to the right, and he saw there was some men there standing with sticks. And he asked, well, what are they doing out in the field? You know? Well, Prabhupada, they call that golf. They have a stick, and there's a little ball, and they try to hit the ball in this little hole a long ways away sometimes. And Prabhupada started crying. He said it's simply another way to waste the human form of life. So Prabhupada had this compassion. And that's why we're all here. The compassion of Srila Prabhupada, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Also, he said we should spend 200 gallons of blood just to save one soul. Yeah. Very compassionate, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. The line of Vaishnavas are very compassionate. Vasudev Dutt prayed to Lord Chaitanya, please, may all the sins of everyone in the universe come upon me so that they can become free of their sinful reaction and go back to Godhead. Lord Chaitanya, he heard that, and he started crying because he knew that this is coming from the heart of this person. He embraced him. Such mercy. And he said, I can understand that you're speaking in this way because you're an incarnation of Prahlad Maharaj. Yeah. So, compassion is it's a very special quality. Everybody likes people that are compassionate, isn't it? Because it's a wonderful quality. Just like quite often, well, not quite often, but there's instances where there's emergencies and doctors just give up their, just leave their business and go and help. They're not getting paid. They just want to go and help people that are struggling in, earthquakes or tsunamis or, when there's an emergency, there's some people that rise for the occasion and just give up their whatever it was they're doing and do some selfless service for people. So what we have now in society, we have an emergency. People have forgotten Krishna. It's a major problem. The biggest problem on the planet right now is that people have forgotten Krishna and they're absorbed in material life. Illusion. Maya Sukhaya. Wasting such a valuable human form of life. For what? To try and satisfy their senses. So fortunately we've been given this valuable knowledge by which we can become enlivened and by which we can also help others become enlivened. So here in this purport, Prabhupada mentions that a devotee is not only compassionate to human beings, but a devotee is also compassionate towards all living entities. He mentions here the animals, that so many animals are being killed every year. In the Bible it is said, thou shalt not kill. Now they say, the Christians will say, well, that means murder. But these two words are different. Kill and murder. Murder means what? Means human beings, right? But kill means any creature, any living entity. So now, I don't know if some of you have seen these, now they have these Christians, they have their flyers that, thou shalt not murder. They changed it from kill to murder. There's so many changes have been made in the Bible. So now they probably heard our protest of this. And no, it's thou shalt not murder. So this allows them to continue killing. Right? The poor animals have to suffer so much. But a devotee is compassionate, doesn't like to see the suffering of others. I was on book distribution one time, and I was talking to this lady, and I showed her the karma picture. You know, the man has the cow's head, and the cow has the man's head. So she said, oh yeah, I'm vegetarian. I said, oh, that's nice. She said, yeah, I used to have about 20 pets. She said, I'll tell you how I became a vegetarian. She had so many pets, but the one pet that was most affectionate was a baby calf. She would go into the barn, and this calf would just come and cuddle up against her, and just so much affection. She's like, wow, that was her favorite pet, a little calf. And one day she went there, and the calf wasn't there. And she looked around, she couldn't find it. And then they were having dinner that night, and she asked her father, my calf wasn't there this morning in the barn. You know where it is? He said, yeah, it's on your plate. And she's like, what? Couldn't believe it. She pushed it away and started crying. She said, from that day I never ate meat again. Yeah. So some people see animals as food, and some see them as pets or other beings. There's a soul there. I was distributing books in Santa Monica, Promenade there, many years ago. And now, and on my display, I had that cow and the human changed faces. One businessman came by, and he was just looking at it, like, wow. So that's karma. He was just absorbed in looking at that. He bought a book from me, but he said, I saw him about a week later. He said, you know, since I saw that picture, I haven't eaten meat. I'll never eat meat again. It's a powerful presentation, that picture. So, some people are grasping that there is karma. Whatever we do, we get a result from that. And now they're taking it even a step further with this, with the vegan movement, which is it's very good actually. Yeah, it's increasing all around the world actually. So that's good. Then we have our devotees. There's ahimsa, vegetarians. They'll only take milk products that are coming from our protected cows. That's what we need. We need a lot more protected cows. Yeah. How many do we have now? 3 here? 3 now. It's nice. You know? Hopefully in the future we'll have many more. In Vrindavan, there's this sadhu that has been collecting cows that are just loose cows. And he's got like How many? Do you know how many? I think it's got like over 10,000, at least 10,000 cows that he's protecting. And people are giving him donations to help him maintain. So it's nice. Yeah. In the land of Dharma in India, so many cows are being killed. It's terrible. Of course, now there's some places where it's illegal. There's some states in India where it's illegal. So there's something happening. But a devotee is compassionate to all living entities. Yeah. It's like Prabhupada was in Hawaii, and there was one devotee cleaning his room, and he saw one unusual looking bug. And he said to Prabhupada, "Prabhupada, look at this unusual looking bug." He never, because Hawaii is, tropical, all these different types of bugs. And Prabhupada looking at it, yeah, pretty unusual looking. And Prabhupada said, "Well, chant to the poor thing." So he started chanting to it. So this is a devotee who sees the soul in all living entities. Vidya vinaya sampane brahmane gabihastini suni chaiva sapake cha pandita samadarshana. The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision the learned and gentle brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and even a dog eater. He sees the soul everywhere. Wouldn't that be nice? To realize that we're actually the soul. We're not the body at all. We're the soul within. And everybody is the soul. Wouldn't that be nice to have that understanding? Just to have that, that's not actually a very high level of spiritual life, but just to have that, it'd be wonderful. Of course, high levels of spiritual advancement is when we're thinking of Krishna, trying to serve Krishna. Just like here in this verse, Prabhupada mentioned, or this purport, he mentions this verse, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma, Nasochiti Nakanksati, Samar Sarvesu Bhutesu, Mad Bhaktim Labhate Param. That the humble sages, or what is it? One who is transcendentally situated once realizes Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments nor desires to have anything. But actually, we do hanker. We do hanker. We're hankering for pure devotional service. We're hankering for a pure understanding of everything. We hanker to see how Krishna sees, to see how Krishna sees everything. Wouldn't that be nice? So we also hanker. We hanker to think of Krishna all the time. Just like we have our mental homes. Just like we all have our homes. Some devotees live here in the temple, and some devotees live outside. They have apartments outside. So that's your material home. That's where you live. But we have our mental homes. What is it that we're thinking of? Mostly. That's our mental home. Right? It's like Lord Chaitanya, he lets us know what most people's mental homes are. He says, Nadanam. A lot of people think of money. That's their mental home. Thinking of money a lot. Yeah. Money is the honey. Yeah. People like money. Because with money, you get a lot of sense gratification. You can get a big house. You can get a big car. You can get a beautiful wife. Yeah. Money can get a lot of things. But things don't bring happiness. So therefore, Lord Chaitanya says, Nadanam, I don't want wealth. Just like this Jagannath Das Babaji. He was being carried through one village, and someone gave him a donation. He was being carried, and someone gave him a donation, and he told the devotee, take this away, because money brings anxiety. What am I going to do? They got to protect it. Just money brings a lot of anxiety. Just like rich people, their homes are very secured. They have protected neighborhoods. I have a friend. He's a devotee, nice devotee, but he's rich. And he's got a big house, and there's 3 big gates that if anybody wants to visit him, they got to go through 3 big. I mean, we're talking about big gates. If you want to visit him, because there's thieves. Just like even in protected neighborhoods, he said he was living in a protected neighborhood, and still the thieves were coming in. And the person who was overseeing the security of this protected neighborhood, he said, if you want to be protected from thieves, you got to get good dogs. Otherwise, they get in and they're going to cause problems. So you get money, you need a lot of protection. But Krishna says in the Uddhava Gita, he says that the best security is to be aware that I am the soul within. I'm not the body. That's the highest, that's the best security. Because if we're aware that we're the soul within, we're not this body, then we're not going to be so interested in getting a lot of things that thieves will want to get from you. Right? Because people are thinking they're their body, they want to get a lot of things. And this is a consumer society. It's a lot of things. Like you go into these big markets, like Kmart, 99% of the stuff in there, we don't need. But these businessmen, they create these desires, these commercials, especially for the children. They have these, they spend millions of dollars on commercials. And the children see these commercials. Mommy, I want that. So they really go into this consumerism. Got to have this, got to have that. Now they have, what do they have? iPhone 14 now, right? 14, I think that's the last I've heard. They're going to have, iPhone 1,462, and it's only going to cost you $7,000. So it's like there's no limit to this consumerism. You got to get something better. There's something better in there now. There's always got something to, putting the carrot in front of you. There's something better here now for you. So, devotees, they're hankering to serve Krishna, to think of Krishna. So, not dhanam, I don't want wealth. Not janam, I don't want followers. A lot of people want followers. Gurus want followers. And now also on Instagram and Facebook, you get followers. Submit here, hit here. Follow, right? So subscribe, subscribe here. They want to get followers, and sometimes they get millions of followers, right? So Lord Chaitanya says, I don't want followers. No, Sundarim, that's a big one. I don't want a beautiful wife. This is a big meditation, a mental home of many people. Even we're trying to be celibate monks. It's still there. Please leave me. Go away. We don't want it. But it's something that's we become addicted to in the material world. This attraction to the opposite sex. Lord Rishabdev says, "Pungsak striyam etuni bhavametam tayor mitori grantimaho ato griyak setu satapta vitar Janasya moho viyam mahamameti. That the basic principle of material existence is this attraction between male and female. And on the basis of this misconception, which ties together the hearts of the male and female, become very attached to home, to land, to relatives, to money, to all these things. You become very attached to it. This is the basic principle. So we're trying to get free of this attachment. We're hankering to become free of this. We're lamenting that it's still there. Right? So what devotees want is, as one devotee says, a temple of the mind. A temple of the mind. We want to build a mansion in our mind, a subtle mansion in our mind of all the pastimes of Krishna. The name, the form, the qualities, the pastimes of Krishna. Just a mental mansion in our mind. Just going from, just like I was thinking about that, and I was chanting my japa, and I was just all the pastimes of Krishna. Because actually this is the perfection of chanting Hare Krishna, is when we're thinking of the name, the form, the qualities, the pastimes of Krishna. That's the perfection of chanting Hare Krishna. Of course, we shouldn't artificially try to do that, but it automatically comes when we chant the holy name purely. Then the pastimes, the name, the form, qualities, everything, all these things. And then when our mind is filled with these things, then there's no room for all the nonsense. The other mental homes are dismantled and destroyed. That's what we want. We want to dismantle and destroy all these other homes, these mental homes that cause so much distraction, disturbance in our spiritual lives. So as we're hearing and chanting, this mental home is growing. This mental, spiritual mansion. So, is there any question or comment? Dravida? Okay. Yes, Prabhu.
I have a comment. I don't know if I should say this or not. When you mentioned that story about the killing a cow and then eating the cow, I also had the same incident when I was growing up. I was living with my grandparents, and we were raising goats, and so we had about 3 or 4 goats. And often when they have children, goats, small goats, they would raise them to a certain age, and then they would kill them and eat them. And one day I remember I was going back home from school, and actually goats are very playful, but they tend to be a little frightful of people. But they like to, because they don't have any teeth when they're young, so they like to suck on your fingers. Kind of cute. So one day I came back from school, and my grandparents, they had cooked soup, and I sat at the table, and they said, this is soup for you we made. And I looked at that plate, and I saw the meat, and I asked, what is this? And they said, this is the goats we were raising, that we killed them. And I looked back from the window. We had a little pillar there, and we would hang clothes, and they skinned the goats and put the skin to dry outside, and I also saw that, and it just made me realize, why I can't eat this. Why am I gonna eat this? And I said, I'm not gonna have this. On the other hand, if it's not so clear, if meat products are not so, you can't see the consequence of how it's brought to the table, then you don't really think about this, so you just take it.
Yeah. There's that amazing story of this person. He raised cows, and he would sell them to the slaughterhouses. And he got this girlfriend, and she was a musician, so she would go out and she would sing to the cows. And her boyfriend told her, don't name them. Don't name the cows. Because he knew if you name them, you're going to get some affection for them. And she named them, and she would go out and sing to them. And eventually, sure enough, she got affection for them. And believe it or not, she became a vegan. And she went online saying that my boyfriend, he raises cows, and he's going to sell these cows. I've become a vegan. I want to save these cows. So she was collecting donations to buy the cows from her boyfriend so that he wouldn't sell them. And she got thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to save the cows. And she bought them from her boyfriend so they can be saved. And what's really far out is he also became a vegan. He became a vegan also. And then they didn't kill the cows. They would sell the milk. Pretty far out. Yeah? So it's described that there's people don't know this, but there's many people that get reactions for killing the cow. The person who sanctions it, in other words, the owner, he sanctions the killing of it. The person who kills the cow, the person who transports the cow to the stores or whatever, the persons that eat it, the person that cooks it, all these, they all get reactions for this. The waiters also, they're transporting, they get reactions for this. People don't know the subtle laws of karma. So, we have to we have to give this knowledge out so people will know. Just like many of us, I had no idea it was wrong to eat meat. Did anybody here, maybe except for the Indians, did anybody here think it was wrong? None of us. Is it? But you grew up, you all knew, right? It was wrong, right? But us in the West, not a clue. We were born, practically as soon as we could eat, we had meat in our mouth, horrible. Oh, really? Now, even in India now, they don't know that it's wrong. It's becoming so horribly westernized. It's terrible. Yes.
Yeah, like you're saying, Rasika Sindhu, the Indians also, it's a big, young, young 20, 30-year-old Indians. So you would think that, like here in the community, you would think that naturally, okay, they're vegetarians. But then you find out, they're not vegetarians, and you're actually quite surprised. I've found out somewhat recently that the number of them weren't vegetarians. Well, this could have been, surprising.
The number of what?
A number of the people in the community, they come to the temple. I found in Indians, they're not vegetarians. Quite surprised. I was surprised. Like there's some devotee women and a number of their husbands, aren't vegetarian. But I was going to mention, I think I mentioned this before, but anyways, I'll mention it again. It's a nice little story. But when I was in Denver, Tushta Krishna Prabhu, the temple president there, he was telling me, he made an announcement how they've been getting milk from a particular farm for some time. And then the man at that farm, he'd have all these cows, and then he would milk them, and then he would, send them to the slaughterhouse to, But then over time, the man was thinking, I don't want to do this. These are my pets, these are my friends, and I don't want to kill these. So what he would do is he would just, what he's been doing now is he decided that he's just going to let them live out their life. And so devotees started getting milk from that particular farm. Mm-hmm. Anyways.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, Prabhupada gives an example of a mother and a child. The child is taking shelter of the mother. So animals also, they take shelter. They're being fed by them, and there's some shelter there. And the worst thing one can do is slice the throat of someone who has taken shelter of you. the worst thing.
That's mentioned in the end of the ISKCON.
Mm.
When the health, when takes over,
Yeah. Have no idea how much suffering they're going to have to go through because of this animal killing. Got to get the books out there so that they know. Anything else?
Well, had a couple thoughts. You're right. In the West, we're born into a situation where meeting is so commonplace. It's just naturalized, and then you have family tradition of grandma or grandma's cooking a certain thing, and then it's passed on. So it's like part of the family heritage, really, to have food that's based on this. I remember I was beginning middle school, and I saw a video of a slaughterhouse, and it was cows being killed, and I was so shocked by it, I wanted to be vegetarian. So it's seen
You
that.
became vegetarian from that?
I mean, there was like no vegetarians at the time. This is like late 80s, and my
Right.
parents recognized it, and I tried doing it for a month or two, but so I was like really shocked by it. And I can't eat this. This is horrible. It was like a horror movie, really, and it was
Yeah.
So I didn't know that was what the meat was, and I saw it, and I was so horrified. I couldn't do it, but then eventually I had no support system. It kind of fades in the background, memory fades, and you get back to it. So it's really great as the spiritual philosophy that it really explains to you why vegetarianism is so important and why it's just the beginning substrate of spiritual practice, is recognizing the validity of the soul and the other animal and compassion and whatnot. So that's good. So this is kind of leading to the question that I have. I'd have to ask one or two questions that seem very basic, but it kind of substantiates what I'm trying to ask. Do all the jivas that are in the material world eventually go back to Godhead? Or are there some that will forever stay here?
Well, there's some stubborn souls.
Okay.
We're just like we have free will. We don't have to stay with Krishna. We also don't have to go, if we don't want to go back to Krishna, we don't have to.
So the material world will always exist?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's like some souls are going back to Godhead,
Yeah.
and there's others that are coming
Yeah.
to the material world.
Okay. So it's like so this idea of us feeling.
Just like there's always
Yeah.
a prison. There'll always be a prison. There'll always be prisons in America, right? Some are getting free, some are coming in. Go ahead.
So I guess it's the principle that I'm trying to drive at here with this idea, is that like we're making decisions through our spiritual practice that begin to separate us from the pack, and we're moving upward because we're making noble decisions that are based on spiritual philosophy, and we're purifying ourselves. And we're trying to get out of here. We're trying to go back home. So if we have to feel what other people are feeling, especially when they're feeling distressed because they're making decisions we're no longer making, shouldn't we just be focused on people that are moving upward like we are? Like if someone's still eating meat and they're having cancer because they've eaten meat their whole life, I have to feel what they feel even though I've made the decision in this life not to eat meat. I should concern myself with higher ideals than actually feeling that if I've already made a decision to not be part of that anymore. So to me, it's hard to reconcile why I'm actually supposed to feel what the sinner's enduring when I have made decisions not to continue that sin, when I should be focused in this one life associated with people that are having good experiences based on good spiritual decisions they're making. So there's a higher likelihood I'll leave this world, knowing that some people are just going to be stuck here.
Huh. Well, that's part of spiritual life that we're mostly focusing on, trying to get purified and go back to Godhead. But because he's experiencing so much happiness in his spiritual life, this is the compassion naturally comes, and therefore wants to help others as well. This is selflessness. We can be selfish and just completely focused on my own spiritual journey and focused on how serving devotees and Krishna, which is not. But a devotee is selfless. He also wants to help others. This is, even there's a statement that in the Bhagavatam that only those persons who are compassionate to others and are helping others to go back to, only they will go back to Godhead. It's a heavy statement. I could show it to you later. I read that like, whoa, that's heavy. So it's actually it's a religious principle that we should want to help others. Also.
So maybe principle is, if I feel what they're feeling, I need to help them because I'm feeling what they're feeling and it's not good.
Yeah, yeah.
But you could do that forever because there's everyone's going to be here always. So you could always be doing that here, you know? Like you could just walk around forever commiserating with the people that are making bad decisions and feeling what they're feeling and preaching to them and trying to help them. But that's it's endless.
Yeah. Well, that's why Lord Chaitanya, when he heard Vasudeva died, it was just like, Lord Chaitanya was just overwhelmed of the compassion of Vasudeva died. Let all the sins of everyone come upon me so they can go back to Godhead. Just inconceivable, isn't it? Inconceivable. And I'll stay and I'll suffer for their reactions. Let them go back to Godhead. Inconceivable. Compassion. But Lord Chaitanya was just overwhelmed by that compassion. Just there's the example for you. Yeah, Devidavu.
That directly speaks to his conundrum, the question, because Lord Chaitanya immediately, he was crying, he embraced him, and he said, you don't have to take all of the sins in order to have everyone go back. Just you're desiring that they go back, they're going to go back, and he's God. Yeah. Krishna, because you see, and you're putting too much agency on. Well, if I don't decide to go back to Godhead, I'm not going back. No, that decision is not with you; it's with Krishna. And Krishna himself, as Lord Chaitanya, he shows the model of having both the relishing the internal to the highest degree in the mood of Radharani, but at the same time, he spent 6 years traveling around South India and going everywhere, and taking all kinds of troubles in order to give them people, Krishna consciousness. So to that regard, I wanted to just focus on this one word, anukampa, which is very famous. Tesham eva anukampatam. Yeah. It's right there in the Chatur Shloki Gita, if you want to call it that. And what is kampa? Kampa is one of the symptoms of ecstasy. It's trembling, right? It's a symptom of emotion. And anukampa means following. I'm trembling in sympathy with your trembling. In other words, someone is in feeling pain, and you're feeling the pain, and you're also so sympathetic that you're also trembling in ecstasy. So that it's very interesting because that Krishna says, I out of anukampa, out of compassion for them, I enlighten those who are serving me. Tesham satadi yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam. In the 4 verses, the last of the 4 verses is, I enlighten, I dissipate the darkness in the heart with the shining lamp of knowledge. So the point is that Krishna himself is full of this compassion. That's why he takes the trouble to come down and protect the devotees, annihilate the miscreants, reestablish Dharma. Because his praja, his children, they were all these children, aham bija pada, are making a mess of their lives. They're turning into demons, they're suffering like anything, and so I feel for them, and therefore I'm going to come and teach and try to save them. And so that's and as far as going back to Godhead, this is interesting. If I just take one more minute, this phrase nitya bada nitya mukta, have you heard that? So this came up when we were debating how do we fall from the spiritual world? Does anyone fall from the spiritual world, or have we always been here? That's the whole group thinks like that. But what does the word nitya mean? Nitya bada, nitya means eternal, and we're now nitya badas. Are we eternally bound? Then what's the point of trying to go back to Godhead? So the thing is that in Sanskrit we have this, and in our philosophy, you ever hear like perfect, more perfect, most perfect? Well, that kind of blows away what you learn in grade school. And perfect is perfect. It can't be unique, more unique, and most unique, like that. So the same thing is there for eternal, but in Sanskrit, it's Nitya Bada Prabhupada explained, it's been so long, so many lives of Brahma, that is practically eternal, but it's not eternal. We came from there, and we can return to there. How do we break out of this virtually eternal imprisonment? By trying to develop the pure love for Krishna and not worrying about going back to God. Krishna said, "Janmani Janmani Ishvare." I'm praying that birth after birth, I don't want to go back to God. I don't want to get liberation. I just want to, unmotivated devotional service to you. And then Krishna takes care of you going back to Godhead. And virtually the great devotees, they're already back to Godhead. Even on this plane, internally, they're living on both planes.
Thank you. Now, I know it's late, but I got a couple of short Sankirtan stories for you. You want to hear? You reminded me of Lord Chaitanya. Yesterday, I was at Palomar College, and this African American came and he's looking at the books, and he said, I want that one there. How much is that one there? It's the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. I said, well, you can't put a price on wisdom, but basically people give around $10. He said, all right, I'll be back. They came back and he gave $10. He said, do you know why I want that one? Because he's a dancer. That's why he's like this. Lord Chaitanya's like this. And he was a dancer too, so I want that one. And then there was one other amazing. This person came to the table, and I said, hey, how you doing? What's your name? He said, can't speak, can't hear. So I said, can you read lips? He said, yeah. So I explained the Bhagavad Gita. He's reading my lips. And I said, would you like to have one? He said yes. And then he said, well, what's this one over here? A Journey of Self-Discovery. I said, oh, that's also very nice. I put that on there. And what about that one over there? Yeah, very nice. Oh, he put that one. And then he put the Nectar Devotion on it also. So he got 5 books. He didn't. I didn't even call him. He came over to me. 5 books, gave $30, gave a nice donation. First time I ever distributed books to a deaf person. So that was a nice experience. Book distribution ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.